Hello all, my name is Ishan. I'm a consultant at the Bain London office.
And I'm Ben Wilson, currently a director with Alvarez Marsal based out of Chicago and DC.
So Ben, we're going to go through a couple of questions together and then get the answers through. So I'll start with the first one for you, which is, so Ben, could you please walk me through your resume?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. So as you know, Ben Wilson, I'm currently pursuing a master's in data science as well as an MBA from the University of Virginia. And the reason for kind of this dual path actually started with a prior career in the hospitality industry in the Czech Republic. And this is when digital was having a bit of a renaissance where I kept hearing data is the new oil and tech is the future. And so I wanted to pursue these skill sets coming out of undergrad. So in taking this job, I got to do exactly that and started learning how to build profit models for new properties or screen and scan sentiment from customers for reviews. And in building these skill sets, I was able to identify how to use data and influence our decisions for stakeholders. But one of the downsides of this was that my only experience was in this world. And I'm watching my supervisor come from management consulting, where you can bring in his experience from other projects and other clients. And I realized that in order to make that jump, I would probably need to do the same. And so that's actually why I then pursued a career in management consulting. And for about 7 years, I spent my job in the digital practice, and serendipitously, they were building this digital practice across North America and Europe. So I got to split my time and work on applying digital and technology to each of their services. And one day I'd be identifying hidden assets from Russian oligarchs, and then the next day I'd be identifying millions in payments from healthcare fraud. So being able to learn how to apply technology in different ways then allowed me to build that skill set and understand how multiple avenues to solve problems with it. But as I'm working across these teams, I then again realized that perhaps a gap or an area that I wanted to build was actually leadership. Can I lead going from small teams of 5 or 6 to large teams of, say, 20 or more? And that's actually why I pursued a career with the Army. And I started working as the chief of data science for the Army's assistant secretary of the Army, specifically working in a digital capacity. And how do we actually converge a number of systems and being able to work into the future to modernize our technology. And this allowed me to lead those large teams of 50 or more people, of contractors and civilians and deployed personnel, and then also learn to brief generals and 3-star equivalents. And this is really why I pursued education, was to then be able to double down and understand what gaps am I missing so that as I lead teams in the future and do this, I can be better prepared. And this kind of culmination of events is actually what led me into Alvarez Marsal. They're building a federal practice, and then out of the same office in DC, actually building the AN Amplify, which is that digital experience hub. So building on these two teams, but then also something I've really admired for a long time is that they're operators. They're so hands-on. So it's not just strategy, but it's also deploying those solutions. So the kind of culmination of events is why I'd like to pursue a career with Alvarez Marsal.
Ben, maybe if you could elaborate, like, what kind of industries is this sort of answer very relevant to, or what kind of roles is this answer very relevant to? And if you were to do or interview for a different role, how would you tailor your answer?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So really, this is kind of taking a broad approach, coming straight out of, say, an MBA program or education program. And as I start doing different interviews, perhaps I want to tailor it based on what specifically industry or service that is and how my background is tailored to it. So for example, if I'm applying for a job or interviewing with a job that asks me this and it's very public sector oriented, I want to double down on my experience in the Army. And I probably maybe don't even want to touch or just want to gloss over my earlier career in the Czech Republic. So what projects have I done for public sector clients and what industry knowledge do I know? Whereas if it's more digital in nature and kind of service, what is my experience with technology? I probably want to give more examples, perhaps of even the technologies I've done. Maybe I want to talk about some of my grad program with data science and how we're learning about what generative AI does, since that's more relevant to today. So really tailoring it based on where they want to see that knowledge and experience.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful and valuable, Ben. I think what I kind of got out of that, which is what you synthesized at the end, is also just to make sure that you focus on the most relevant experience to the job that you're applying to, and you use or maximize the speaking time with the examples or details within that sphere that you would have on your CV. Does that like resonate?
It absolutely does. And I think that's a fantastic way to summarize it.